Are you all set? Okay.
Ci siamo?
All right.
Can you introduce yourself?
Yeah. This was my intention.
Sì, volete dire.
Okay, just in a few words, because my name is Benoît Borrits. I am a journalist, and I have covered a lot of story of recuperation of companies in France and sometimes abroad as well. I'm working with magazine called Regard, which is a left-wing magazine in France, and I also work inside Association Autogestione. I am sorry about the word, Pierre, but I totally agree with what you said about autogestion, but we have a website which produce information about self-management, self-government on a regular basis, and which start to promote self-management of the past, as well as organizing solidarity with auto-organized initiative in France and abroad as well, because we invited Makis, for example, from Greece into France, make them live freely, and so on and so on. So let's switch to our subject today, which I think you want to know what's going on in France, and I decided to divide my speech in two parts. The first one is to have an overview of what's going on in France in terms at this time, and I also understood from Trasform Italia that you would like to have a debate about the legal frame and legal initiative we can have in terms of helping workers take over companies. So that's I will say that in France situation has totally changed from my point of view, starting from years 2009. This was the bulk of the crisis, you know, with many factory closures, with many lays off, and we had strong struggles against these firings and these laid off. And at this time, the only thing is they obtain, let's say, the severances, huge severances in many cases. Having said that, everybody understood that within months, if you don't find a new job, how huge is this severance? This will not give you any earning more. And we saw a turn in 2010 with a few examples, and there is one which has been highly exposed in the press, in the media, which was the case of Sea France. Sea France is a ferry company operating on the English Channel between Calais and Dover. It was a subsidiary of a French public company, SNCF, the French Railways, to make it short. And this company had difficulties as any other companies in this channel, operating in this channel, in 2009, 2008, 2009. But this is the only one which stayed into a dramatic situation, financially speaking. And the problem was that EU regulation forbid France to give some subsidy, some more subsidy into the company due to the fact that this company was in competition with P&O, Eurotunnel, etc., etc. And therefore, they went bankrupt. During this bankruptcy, the workers decided to set up a workers' co-op, whose name was SCOP Sea France. SCOP means workers' co-op in French. Okay, Sea France. And what they wanted is not the company to be cancelled. What I mean, I don't have a term. Liquidated. They wanted to maintain all job contracts. They wanted to buy back all the ships. They were free boats, and sell them to a public-private company in order to have operating money in order to run the business again, and against it they propose to maintain all the 800 jobs. We are talking about 800 jobs, and you understand why it was a very important thing into the media. Finally, during the winter 10-11, the trade court decided to dismantle this company against the wish of the workers. Sarkozy, President Sarkozy at this time, supported this solution. Company has been liquidated. Fortunately, what happens, I would say fortunately and unfortunately, I would say what happened is that Eurotunnel, which operates, you know, the tunnel under the channel, bought the boats back and leased them to Scopsi France in order to operate. But the problem was that Eurotunnel had the business side of the activity. The problem was that Eurotunnel set up My Ferry Link, which was a travel agency. We sold the tickets. And the problem is that this workers' co-op has only one customer, you understand, which was Eurotunnel at the end. So this was not a real self-management initiative. We have very bad news now, because just a few days ago, workers' co-op C France has been put in bankruptcy again, due to the fact that Eurotunnel had legal problem with Britain and decided to get out of this business and to sell the boats to other company. So that's it. And I would say that this is an experience which now is over. So in order to make things very quick, I would say that this was a very huge experience, very well known in France. Having said that, we had a semi-solution, half a solution, I would say, which fortunately kept the job for 500 people during, I'll say, now 4 or 5 years, you see, but now we are at the end of the story, unfortunately. The second experience which changed a lot of things was obviously Fralib, that has already been mentioned here in this conference. It started in September 2010, when Unilever Group decided to close down this factory. This factory was a tea and herbal tea conditioning company. I guess that you already heard about Lipton, certainly. So Lipton, they were produced in Marseille in the former times, and Unilever decided to relocate the production into Poland and to close down the factory. Immediately, workers decided that they will not leave any machine going out of the factory. They started with a legal battle, which was absolutely wonderful, with, I would say, a very performant lawyer. And they blocked the firing process during 3 times, at a point where Unilever decided to stop paying employees. This was in April 2013, saying, okay, we know that legally we are wrong, go to the court, we will pay, but no, we don't want to hear any more about you. Absolutely surprising. In the meantime, what the workers decided was, okay, you no longer want us, we no longer want you as well. And what we want is to keep the factory, we want to maintain this activity here in France, in Marseille, and to keep on as a workers' co-op. So, and this is the solution which happened. So, in April 2013, they decided to stop to paying wages. In May 2014, there has been an agreement between workers and Unilever company in order to set up the company. They obtained 20 million euros in total as severance and money for the new cooperative. And now the situation is that this year in May they announced their range. They are resuming their production. They will resume their production in this summer in order to contract with different supermarkets in order to be ready once the cold season will be back. Because with tea and herbal tea, this is not something we like to drink at this time. So I would say that this is not done, but this is in good conditions in order to be a success in the next years. Another story, which is Pilpa. It's roughly the same scenario as it is in Fralib, except that there is a new company, another group, which is R&R. Pilpa was working in the ice cream industry, but ice cream sold under the brands of supermarkets. So for those who knows, for example, when you ate, for example, whatever, okay, Auchan ice cream. Basically, this was an ice cream made in Carcassonne at Pilpa. Okay, so that's or Walt Disney as well. This was Pilpa, and this company has been bought by R&R, which is a leader of supermarket brands in Europe. And 9 months after purchasing this company, R&R announced that they want to close down Carcassonne factory. Carcassonne is in the south of France, as some of you know. And again, they decided, okay, we don't accept. We don't accept legal battle, same thing. We want to set up a co-op instead of this. And they win in a shorter time than Fralib. They started, I don't remember, I think they started in April 2013. They made in summer, because this is a summer activity, ice cream obviously, a wonderful season. And now they are preparing the second season, and I think it's good. But what is common, I think, in these two cases, I mean Fralib and Pilpa, is the fact that regaining the business, workers thought they need to have a social meanings production, which is to say, we no longer want to use chemicals in our products. I can grant you that I saw big chemicals can in Fralib. And they use milk powder, for example, to make ice cream in Pilpa in the former time. So now all natural products and, when possible, local products. In Fralib, they decide to relaunch, for example, fragrance in the south of France, such as different herbal tea, linden, etc. So that's okay. And I would say, so beside these two mediatic examples, most of recovering of companies in France are made, so these two are made after worker struggle, I understand. This is a group who wants to close down a factory. In many cases, this follows bankruptcy. And you have many cases in France. I can just mention, for example, Fontanil, which is a company which made, I don't know how to explain in English, but this is for ladies elastic. I'm sorry. Okay. Dimap. No. Dimap. Okay, Dimap. Maybe you remember some advertisement a few years ago. So this is where it was produced in Auvergne. Closed down. SCT, which was a technology company in Savoie. You had a big library in Clermont-Ferrand in Auvergne. You have a Gillette Fonderie in Albi. The newspaper Nice Matin, for example, has been recovered a few months ago as a workers' cooperative. Helio Corbeil, which is a printing company in close to Paris, etc. I have numerous examples. What I would like to say now is to say that we always had workers' cooperative in France. This is a very old phenomenon starting in the 19th century. But workers' cooperative was very marginal and are still marginal in the economic French landscape. Having said that, what is very significant is to see that now, this year, 2014, total number of employees working in workers' co-op was 50,000. Okay, please don't smile about your 800,000 in Italy, okay? But it's 15,000, but the good news is that this was an increase in just 1 year of 12%. Just to show you this phenomenon, which is very interesting. Again, 11% of increase of employment in just workers' co-op in France. I wouldn't say that all workers' co-ops are self-managed. This is absolutely not my word about this. You've got in workers' co-op the best, and I mentioned a few of them, and you've got also a worst, in which you have, let's say, 3 management members which are cooperative, which forbid all of their employees to be members of a cooperative. This exists as well. So this is a complex reality. But what I want to go now is into the legal aspect of these workers' co-ops and the debate that we have in France about this different closure. The first thing is about a project of law which was called Law Florange. Just in few words, Florange, no, I would not, I think in order to make a long story short and enable our friend from Spain and Slovenia to speak, this is just a law which says if a group wants to close down a factory, this was a project, this was also a promise. A promise? It doesn't sound. Okay, promise from our candidate Hollande, which says, okay, if a group wants to close down a factory, this group is obliged to find a buyer, and in case it found a buyer, he has to sell in order to protect the job. Obviously, what happens when you have a candidate and what happens when you have a president is sometimes slightly different. And the thing is that this law, Florange law, is absolutely not on the table at this time, except on a very, very light version. But the fact is that we have at this time in France 2 examples on which, if Florange law existed, we would have solution for 100 workers on one side. I'm talking about the paper mill in Lorraine, in Docel, in Lorraine, and I am talking about this tire factory in the north of France, in Amiens, which is Goodyear. So, and I think this is certainly, this is something on a European level that we need to talk about, because I think this is what we want to do. Another law was the idea of a preemption law, which preemption, does that make sense in English? No? Preemption, preempzione, no, doesn't work? Okay. Oh, sometimes it works. See, it works. Oh, but
Works in Italian.
it works in Italian. Yeah. So, was preemption right for the employees in case of a company is sold out, which says that if a company is sold out to a private buyer, workers have the right to buy this company at the price it was set. It had been I think this is absolutely not a revolutionary law, because this is on the price of a buyer. This has been promoted by an association close to the Communist Party in France. This is not a bad law anyway, but the fact is that candidate Hollande again said, yes, okay, we will go on this. Okay, and coming back to this preemption law, so this was agreed by candidate Hollande, and again, this did not come off except inside the general law about social and solidarity economy, which says that now employees have an information right in case of a sellout. They have a right to propose to buy the company, but the owner has the right to choose as well. So this is, I think, a real problem. But the interest of this preemption right, from my standpoint, is that this can open a gate in which, for example, we can consider that tomorrow, if we improve this law, there will be several possibilities for employee to buy back a company at some point. For example, if there is, I would say, disagreement between workers and shareholders about investment, for example, and so on. So this is a law that we can push further in order to break the property right, I think, tomorrow. And I think from this standpoint, this beginning of law, which was absolutely not revolutionary, and this is what I think, was interesting as just a milestone to this way. This leads us to the question of financing the cooperatives. I think at this level of stage, the cooperative movement in France has been very successful to provide the finance to the new cooperative in a way in which employees doesn't have a lot of money to put inside, with several financial tools. So I'm not sure that we will be able to have a debate about it, but if we wish to have in a private conversation question, I would be very happy to talk with you about this. But what we need to think, I think, is a question of socialization of the banking sector, even in a country where more than 50% of deposits are made on cooperative banks. But these are user cooperatives and which are far away from the cooperative. Let's say that they run their business as any other private banks. And I would think, I stop. 30 seconds. Okay, just give me 30 seconds. And and the last point, I think, which is interesting probably to debate, I think, is a question of bringing revenue to new co-ops, new experience, and so on. And I think there is a debate which starts in France with a book which is from Bernard Friot, which says, let's disconnect totally workers' revenue with value added of unit production. But I think we need to think about partial deconnection. I'm not sure that Bernard Friot is totally operational, and we have many doubts about this. But we have to think about to start to disconnect revenue of workers anywhere in the economy from the value added of their own company. And this is an idea which is developed on a website called Péréquation, I think it's right, péréquation.org, if you want to know more about it, but unfortunately this is just in French. Okay, but if you are interested, I would be happy to talk with you and work on translation on this, and I will end with this. 35 seconds, sorry Roberto.